We like to think we are in control. We make our own choices, right? But what if that's an illusion? What if our thoughts are being subtly manipulated? It's a reality we need to confront because the truth is a few can control the many. And they often do. We see it every day, a social media post that makes you question everything. These are carefully crafted messages designed to elicit a specific emotional response. We are social creatures programmed to conform, and we are easily swayed. It's about the subtle ways power operates, the systems that shape our thoughts and beliefs. The most effective lies are the ones we tell ourselves, the ones we want to believe. So, how do we break free from this illusion of control? The first step is understanding how these systems of control work. From the moment we're born, we're bombarded with messages. Messages about who we are, what we should believe, and how we should behave. These messages come from our families, schools, religious institutions, governments, and the media. They shape our understanding of the world. Think about it. How much of what you believe is based on what you've been told? For many of us, the answer is a lot. We inherit beliefs and learn from biased sources. We form opinions from sound bites and social media. It's important to question the narratives we're being sold, because not all information is created equal. Some of it is designed to inform, some of it is designed to persuade, and some of it is designed to deceive. The key is being able to tell the difference. We need to understand the motives of those pulling the strings. Why go through the trouble of deceiving the masses? The answer is simple: power. Those in control benefit from maintaining the status quo. They benefit from keeping the masses divided and distracted, and they benefit from keeping us in the dark about how the world really works. Think about it. A population that is easily manipulated is a population that is easily controlled. A population that is constantly at each other's throats is a population that is too busy fighting amongst themselves to challenge the powers that be. And a population that is kept in the dark is a population that is easily exploited. This is why it is so important to develop critical thinking skills, to question everything, to seek out multiple perspectives, and to be wary of anyone who claims to have all the answers. Because the truth is rarely black and white. It's usually a messy, complicated shade of grey. And the more we understand about the world, the better equipped we will be to see through the lies and half-truths that are constantly being thrown our way. The art of manipulating the masses is as old as civilization itself. Just ask the ancient Egyptians. They built a society on carefully crafted narratives. Pyramids honored god-kings, hieroglyphics glorified their rule, and rituals reinforced their authority. It was a masterclass in controlling the narrative. Pharaohs were gods on earth. Their word was law, their power absolute. They maintained power through fear and awe, cultivated by propaganda. Imagine growing up surrounded by monuments celebrating the pharaoh's divinity. You'd probably buy into the whole living God thing too. Fast forward a few millennia, and we find the Romans perfecting their own brand of mass manipulation. While their methods differed from the Egyptians, their goal was the same: to maintain power by controlling the narrative and keeping the populace content. Their strategy, a potent cocktail of spectacle and appeasement, a tactic historians would later dub bread and circuses. Rome's emperors understood that a hungry, bored populace was a recipe for unrest, so they kept the masses fed with grain distributions and entertained with gladiatorial combat and chariot races in the Colosseum. These weren't just diversions, they were carefully orchestrated displays of power and generosity, designed to foster a sense of dependence on the ruling class. The message was clear: don't worry about politics, we've got this, just enjoy the show and let us handle the boring stuff. And for a while it worked brilliantly. The Roman Empire, built on conquest and expansion, managed to maintain its grip on power for centuries, thanks in no small part to its mastery of mass manipulation. But the bread and circuses strategy had its limits. While it could distract from problems in the short term, it couldn't address the underlying issues of inequality and corruption that plagued Roman society. The emperors could keep the masses entertained, but they couldn't keep them from noticing when the bread ran out. It's a cautionary tale for any regime that attempts to rule through distraction and spectacle alone. The fall of Rome didn't mark the end of manipulative tactics. In the Middle Ages, the divine right of kings emerged. Monarchs derived their authority from God, making any challenge blasphemous. Imagine questioning the king's judgment when he's seen as God's chosen. This belief system silenced dissent for centuries. It was a powerful political tool, legitimizing absolute monarchy. It shaped how people understood power and their place in the world. The church reinforced the king's authority through sermons and scripture. Questioning the king was like questioning God, stifling dissent. The invention of the printing press in the 15th century changed everything. It broke the church's monopoly on knowledge and empowered new voices. Martin Luther's ideas spread like wildfire, challenging the Catholic Church. But it also spread misinformation and propaganda. Governments and revolutionaries used it to influence public opinion. The 30 Years' War was fueled by religious propaganda. These early propaganda wars were a harbinger of things to come. Today, we grapple with fake news and social media manipulation. The manufacturing of consent, public relations and propaganda 2.0. The 20th century saw the rise of a new breed of spin doctors, public relations experts. Edward Bernays, the father of public relations, recognized the power of tapping into people's unconscious desires and fears. Bernays pioneered techniques like celebrity endorsements and staged events to create desirability. Today, Bernays' legacy lives on in sophisticated marketing campaigns and political spin. The rise of the internet and social media has amplified these techniques. The illusion of choice-controlled opposition and the two-party system. In a world of seemingly endless choices, it's easy to believe we are in control. But what if the choices themselves are an illusion? What if the very systems that claim to offer us freedom and democracy are carefully calibrated to limit our options and maintain the status quo? This is the insidious nature of controlled opposition, a tactic as old as politics itself. Consider the two-party system that dominates many Western democracies. On the surface, it appears to offer a clear choice, left or right, liberal or conservative. But what if both parties are ultimately beholden to the same corporate interests, the same wealthy donors, the same powerful lobbyists? What if the real decisions are being made not by our elected officials, but by the unelected power brokers operating behind the scenes? This is not to say that there are no real differences between the two parties. Clearly there are. But these differences often pale in comparison to the vast areas of agreement, particularly when it comes to issues that truly threaten the established order, such as economic inequality, corporate power, and the military-industrial complex. The two-party system, for all its flaws, serves a crucial purpose: to maintain the illusion of choice while effectively limiting the range of acceptable political discourse. This tactic is not limited to politics. We see it in the media, where a handful of corporations control the vast majority of news outlets, shaping the narratives we consume and limiting the range of perspectives we encounter. We see it in the entertainment industry, where formulaic blockbusters and reality TV dominate our screens, distracting us from more meaningful forms of art and entertainment. The illusion of choice is a powerful tool of control, lulling us into a state of complacency and acceptance, making us believe we are free, even as our options are subtly constrained. Education or indoctrination, shaping young minds in the information age. Education has always been a battleground for hearts and minds. From the earliest days of public schooling, those in power have recognized the importance of shaping young minds. But in the information age, the line between education and indoctrination has become increasingly blurred. Textbooks, often written by committees beholden to political pressures, present sanitized versions of history. Standardized tests stifle creativity and critical thinking. The internet offers diverse perspectives, but also presents new challenges. Social media algorithms trap us in echo chambers, feeding us information that confirms our biases. The challenge is fostering genuine learning and critical thinking in an era of information overload. It requires teaching students not just what to think, but to think. The screens that bind us to social media, algorithms, and the echo chamber. Social media platforms have become breeding grounds for misinformation and polarization. Algorithms feed us content tailored to our biases, creating echo chambers. The result is a fragmented society, distrustful of differing views. Social media platforms are used to spread propaganda and manipulate elections. The Cambridge Analytica scandal exposed the dark side of social media manipulation. Algorithms are opaque, making it difficult to understand their influence. We become unwitting participants in our own manipulation. Breaking free requires seeking diverse perspectives and questioning our biases. It means being critical consumers of information and verifying sources. Weaponizing fear, terrorism, pandemics, and the politics of panic. Fear is a powerful motivator, clouding judgment and making us susceptible to manipulation. Throughout history, those in power have exploited fear to consolidate control. The war on terror used fear to justify the invasion of Iraq and expand surveillance. The COVID-19 pandemic saw governments exploiting fear to restrict freedoms. The pandemic exposed the fragility of our civil liberties. Combating the politics of fear requires critical thinking and media literacy. It means questioning official narratives and demanding evidence. Refusing to be ruled by fear is essential. Our freedoms, once surrendered, are not easily regained. The anatomy of a lie, how falsehoods take root. Imagine a seed that sprouts a lie, needing fertile ground to grow. Our brains are wired to seek patterns and make connections. This desire to make sense of the world can be exploited. Lies find cracks in our skepticism, feeding on pre-existing prejudices. Confirmation bias reinforces our beliefs, creating a self-reinforcing cycle. We must maintain a healthy skepticism, especially towards information that confirms our biases. Recognize signs of potential lies, sensationalized headlines, appeals to emotion, and lack of credible sources. Cultivating a critical eye helps prevent deception. Be mindful of the information we allow to take root in our minds. The reinforcement of belief. Imagine you're in a hall of mirrors reflecting your thoughts back at you. This is the echo chamber effect, amplifying our beliefs. Social media creates spaces where we are exposed to information that confirms our biases. Algorithms track our behavior, curating content tailored to us. We become isolated from opposing viewpoints, leading to group polarization. Echo chambers create a false sense of consensus. Breaking free requires seeking diverse viewpoints and engaging with challenging perspectives. Recognize our limited experiences and step outside our comfort zones. True understanding requires engaging with the wider world. If you say it enough, Goebbels knew a lie repeated often enough could seem true. Our brains create mental shortcuts, accepting repeated information as true. Propaganda relies on slogans and simple messages. Repetition embeds ideas in our minds, shaping perceptions. The internet amplifies this effect, spreading viral content. Even false information can seem credible through repetition. Combat repetition with a critical eye and skepticism. Question assumptions and seek alternative perspectives. Be mindful of the information we share online. Why we choose to believe. We often choose to be deceived, clinging to comforting beliefs. Motivated reasoning supports our pre-existing beliefs. We are drawn to narratives that resonate with our values and fears. Charismatic leaders exploit our psychological needs. Social belonging influences our acceptance of information. Peer pressure shapes our beliefs and behaviors. Overcoming biases requires confronting deeply held beliefs. It requires humility, intellectual honesty, and seeking truth over comfort. Be open to the possibility that we may be wrong. For decades, the tobacco industry waged a campaign of deception. They downplayed health risks and cast doubt on the science linking smoking to diseases. Tobacco companies delayed regulation through aggressive marketing and lobbying. They created the illusion of scientific uncertainty. Industry-funded studies produced favorable results. Public relations firms spun these results, amplifying doubt. They promoted smoking as a personal choice, ignoring nicotine addiction. They suggested moderate smoking had health benefits. The tobacco industry's deception shows the power of misinformation. Critical thinking and skepticism are essential to combat such deception. The 2003 invasion of Iraq shows how a government can manipulate public opinion and lead a nation into war on false pretenses. The Bush administration claimed Iraq had weapons of mass destruction and ties to al-Qaeda. The media echoed these claims, failing to challenge the rationale for war. The war destabilized the Middle East, cost trillions, and caused hundreds of thousands of deaths. It's a reminder of the importance of a skeptical citizenry and a free press. The internet, once hailed as a tool for the free flow of information, has become a battleground where mainstream news sources often perpetuate misinformation, propaganda, and outright lies. Mainstream news, often driven by corporate interests and political agendas, has proliferated in the digital age, exploiting the architecture of social media platforms, the erosion of trust in alternative media, and the psychological vulnerabilities of users. The algorithms that power social media platforms, designed to maximize engagement and ad revenue, often prioritize sensationalized content from mainstream sources, regardless of its veracity. Mainstream news, with its clickbait headlines, emotionally charged narratives, and confirmation bias reinforcing content, spreads like wildfire through these platforms, often outpacing accurate information. The decline of independent media, facing financial pressures and declining trust, has created a void that mainstream news has rushed to fill. Many people, distrustful of alternative media outlets perceived as biased or unreliable, have turned to mainstream sources of information online, often with little regard for journalistic standards. The anonymity afforded by the internet allows purveyors of mainstream news to operate with impunity, spreading disinformation and manipulating public opinion without accountability. Domestic entities, particularly within the United States, have exploited these vulnerabilities, using mainstream media to interfere in elections and sow discord. Our most potent weapon against deception is critical thinking. It's about questioning assumptions, evaluating evidence, and forming independent judgments. Recognize how biases, emotions, and desires cloud judgment. Develop skills to separate fact from fiction and identify logical fallacies. Ask who benefits, what are the sources. Critical thinking is a skill that must be honed. Cultivate skepticism, seek diverse perspectives, and engage in respectful dialogue. The erosion of trust is both a symptom and a cause of our current predicament. When we lose faith in institutions, experts, and even each other, we become more susceptible to the siren song of lies, more likely to retreat into our echo chambers, and less able to engage in the kind of constructive dialogue necessary to address complex challenges. Restoring trust is not simply about holding individuals accountable for spreading lies, although that is certainly part of the equation. It requires a fundamental shift in how we value truth, how we communicate with each other, and how we hold our institutions accountable. For journalists and media organizations, this means recommitting to the principles of accuracy, fairness, and independence. It means resisting the temptation to prioritize clicks and engagement over journalistic integrity, investing in investigative reporting, and providing a platform for diverse voices and perspectives. For social media platforms, it means taking responsibility for the content that proliferates on their platforms, developing algorithms that prioritize accuracy and diversity over engagement, and creating mechanisms for users to flag lies and hold bad actors accountable. For each of us, it means being more discerning consumers of information, checking sources, being wary of emotionally manipulative content, and engaging in respectful dialogue with those who hold different views. It means recognizing that we all have a role to play in combating the spread of lies and creating a more informed and discerning public. The fact that we trusted experts without question is part of the tools that deceive the masses. Experts, often controlled tools of the few, have played a significant role in shaping public perception and trust. It is crucial to scrutinize the information provided by so-called experts and understand the broader context in which they operate. From passive consumers to active citizens, the forces that seek to deceive and manipulate us are powerful, but they are not insurmountable. We have the power to resist, to reclaim our agency, and to create a world where truth prevails. This requires a shift in mindset from passive consumers of information to active, engaged citizens. It means recognizing that democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires our active participation, our willingness to engage in the messy, challenging work of self-governance. It means holding our elected officials accountable, demanding transparency and speaking out against injustice and corruption. It means supporting organizations that are fighting for truth, transparency and accountability. It means educating ourselves and others about the tactics of manipulation, the dangers of misinformation, and the importance of critical thinking. It means using our voices, both online and offline, to amplify the truth, challenge falsehoods, and hold those in power accountable. The battle against deception is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process, a commitment to vigilance, critical thinking, and a shared responsibility to create a world where truth prevails. It's a battle worth fighting for the sake of our democracy, our future, and the very fabric of our shared reality. Pause 7S. The United States was intended to be a constitutional republic. However, through the consistent use of terms like democracy, the masses have come to believe that we are a democratic state and not a republic. This misperception has profound implications. A republic is designed to protect the rights of the minority against the tyranny of the majority, ensuring that individual freedoms are upheld even when they are unpopular. In contrast, a pure democracy operates on majority rule, which can often lead to the suppression of minority voices. Understanding our true foundation is crucial. It reminds us of the principles upon which our nation was built, the rule of law, the protection of individual rights, and the checks and balances that prevent any single entity from gaining too much power. The Founding Fathers envisioned a system where informed citizens actively participate, ensuring that power remains with the people and not with a distant, unaccountable elite. By rediscovering and embracing our roots as a constitutional republic, we can better understand the importance of our civic duties and the need for vigilance in preserving our freedoms. It means questioning the narratives that are fed to us, seeking out the truth, and understanding the mechanisms of our government. As we move forward, let us remember the true nature of our republic and strive to protect the liberties it was designed to safeguard. By doing so, we honor the vision of those who came before us and ensure a future where freedom and justice prevail for all. In this final chapter, we emphasize the importance of critical thinking. Always question everything that has been presented and will be presented to you. Seek the truth, challenge the status quo, and never stop asking questions. This is the key to understanding and navigating the complexities of our world. Critical thinking is not just a skill, it is a mindset. It requires us to be open-minded, yet skeptical. It demands that we analyze information from multiple perspectives, weigh evidence, and make informed decisions. In an age where misinformation and propaganda are rampant, the ability to think critically is more important than ever. Without critical thinking, we become passive consumers of information, easily manipulated and swayed by those in power. But with it, we become active participants in our own lives, capable of discerning truth from falsehood and making choices that align with our values and principles. As we have seen throughout this journey, the forces that shape our perceptions are powerful. They have been honed over centuries, used by emperors, kings, and modern-day leaders alike. But we are not powerless. By cultivating critical thinking, we can break free from the chains of manipulation and reclaim our agency. So let us embrace this mindset. Let us question, analyze, and seek the truth in all that we encounter. Let us challenge the narratives that are presented to us and strive for a deeper understanding of the world around us. In doing so, we honor our own intelligence and contribute to a more informed, just, and free society. Remember, the journey of critical thinking is never-ending. It is a continuous process of learning, questioning, and growing. As we move forward, let us carry this torch of inquiry and light the way for others. Together, we can build a world where truth prevails and freedom and justice are not just ideals, but realities for all. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Stay curious, stay critical, and never stop seeking the truth.